Welcome. This is MoneyHeart, where we explore the emotional side of money. I'm Camille Diaz, and today we're discussing Watch Your Words. My guest is Amy Getz. Amy believes wealth and financial freedom are for everyone and is especially passionate about helping women know their worth. She is a financial advisor with IRC Wealth, an SEC-registered investment firm in Atlanta, Georgia, a CPA and CDFA, which stands for Certified Divorce Financial Analyst. She's also in the Money and Finance Chapter Director of the National What Women Want networking organization. Amy is on a mission to educate women about their finances and empower them to set big goals for their financial future. Letting go of limiting beliefs around money and facing the real numbers allows women to quiet the stress loop in their mind and elevate everyone around them. Wealthy women change the world. When she's not working, Amy loves to travel with her family, connect with friends, or read a good book. Amy, welcome to MoneyHeart.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for offering me this opportunity.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm so excited you're here. Let's talk about this watching our words concept and kind of overcoming limiting beliefs. Where do we usually go sideways on this sort of thing?
I think the fact that we're not talking is the number one problem. And I feel like if we made money a more regular conversation so that it wasn't so taboo, so that it wasn't such a competitive situation, I think just opening the conversation is step one. I think step two is recognizing our languaging around how we talk about wealth, how we talk about people with perceived wealth, how we talk about gender roles and wealth, and a variety of different comments about things that are limiting in your own personal wealth journey. Mm-hmm. And I think what I want to encourage people to recognize is most of the time the money story that people have really isn't their own. It's something that generated in their childhood. So you really need to look at the languaging, maybe that your parents or close family members used, but more importantly, what they modeled as far as their opinion on wealth and their opinion of wealthy individuals. Right. Was it wealthy people are greedy, or money is the root of, evil? Or is it more celebrating abundance, celebrating other people winning? So it's really sort of paying attention to the language that you now use around your wealth story and recognizing that if it is slightly more skewed negatively, that there's lots of ways to change that mindset to a more abundance mindset.
Right. Because if that's one of those things that I think we don't consciously make the connection of, if we're saying things like, rich people, and putting that having wealth in a negative context, well, we're not going to be somebody that we don't like. So we'll never allow ourselves to get to that place where we have all that wealth. Because
you are absolutely connecting the dots. You are connecting the exact dot that I'm talking to. We don't want to become something that someone in our family or that we in our own mind see as having a negative connotation to it. And that is a limiting belief and a money block. So I'm so proud of you for drawing that conclusion, because that's exactly what I'm talking about.
I love it. And thank you for emphasizing the family part, because it's one thing to change your beliefs and your wording, but we still may be stuck on the concept of, well, if my dad doesn't get to help me out anymore, or my mom really hates that guy that drives the Ferrari across the street, and we don't want to be someone that our parents hate, or our sister doesn't like, or cousins don't want to hang out with. And so we may stop ourselves from achieving our full potential because we want to stay in the box where some people are going to like me.
Yes. And I think there's often, to speak to that point, we think that suddenly money changes who we are. And in fact, that's really not the case. What people have found is that money enhances who you are. So if you're a good person, having more money is a beautiful gift, because more than likely what you're going to do is elevate those around you. Women especially need to be having the conversation about money and wealth and for profit, because studies have shown us time and time again that women often give more and give to causes that don't even directly affect them, but they can sort of expand and their reach and recognize that it affects other people. So they also want to donate their money there. So what I want to encourage people to realize is that money in the hands of good people does good things. You're the same person when you're making 50 grand as when you're making 500 grand. So recognize inherently that you are who you are, and that only more of that's going to show up when you have more money.
Right, right. That's a great point. It's just going to amplify who you already are. And those wealthy people that are jerks, they're jerks even if they're not wealthy people. It's going to be the same. Like,
absolutely.
What's that Jim Rohn phrase? There's only like 10 really crummy people in the world, but they sure seem to move around a lot.
Yes, I haven't heard that, but absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like we focus on the negative and it becomes so much more prevalent in our mind. And that's, again, a story that we can change. We can focus on the good and not necessarily the bad. And almost always there's more good and good people, good, you know what I'm trying to say. There's more good in the world than bad, but yet the bad seems to sort of elevate higher to where we are in our mindset. And we need to start to change that.
Yeah. So really having that abundance mindset of thinking that it's going to be okay, I'm going to do well, and figuring out how to keep that relationship going with the people in your family. Because I'm thinking, okay, so let's say you do earn your $500,000 a year. Is your family going to disown you? Probably not. You're probably going to go on some fabulous trip together and have an amazing time and be even closer than you were before. It's just we get that kind of like head trash that somehow we think that's going to happen, even though it's not going to happen.
We spend so much time living in the what ifs of the future instead of really enjoying the here and now and the present moment. And it's, again, it's like sort of that monster under the bed. When you actually turn the lights on and look, it's really not that bad. Yeah, so don't make something out to be, that hasn't actually happened. Just enjoy where you are and focus on just those next few steps.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The worrying about things is really just projecting fear into the future, because you're worrying is about things that haven't happened and may not ever happen.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've heard before, worrying is like rocking in a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but it gets you nowhere. So,
Yeah. Sometimes people feel really, I guess, kind of overwhelmed and worried about money things. And this is what we talk about on this show all the time is, we want that conversation to be comfortable. And one of the tips that you sent to me when we were getting ready for this was to stop overcomplicating things and simplify your finances. 100% agree. What are your best tips for doing that? How do we make things a little more simple?
I think people get so into their head about having to have, whether it's a special program or a special app, or they have to be so deep into understanding the concepts of wealth and money management. And really, you don't. It's quite simple. Spend less than you make and save. Why do I say that it's simple? Because it's just not easy. And that's because decision-making gets in the way. The emotions of life get in the way. Mm-hmm. So our core values where I work are education, planning, and simplicity. Education, because the more you know about your money, the better decisions you're going to make. Planning, because you have to know where you're going. But simplicity, because in this world today, we have a million things going on, a million different apps, a million different social media things that are taking our attention. Simple steps are what create wealth. And so people don't need a spreadsheet. They don't need a fancy program. If that's your jam, perfect. But I just encourage folks to get pen and paper. Just start writing down what's coming in and what's going out. Mm-hmm. It's that whole bite it and write it, concept. And there's a lot of parallels between health and wealth. But if you start to pay attention to where your money is going, then you can start to shift where you need to make those changes. You can start to shift your mindset and recognize I'm overspending here. And I know people sort of start to crinkle at the word budget. So let's call it a spending plan, because what I want you to recognize is it's permission to spend. So
Right.
if you're honest with yourself and you really take an evaluation of where you spend your money and you start to look, and if you enjoy going out twice a week, great. If you love your manicure and pedicure every month, great. Budget that in, because then it's permission to spend and it doesn't feel like you are doing something you shouldn't. So
Yes.
simplifying your finances is really just understanding, putting pen to paper, and starting to pay attention to where your money is going.
Yeah, I really like that, because a lot of times when we haven't budgeted, then everything you do, you end up feeling guilty
Yes,
because you spent money and you think you're not supposed to. And it's like,
correct.
well, I'm probably not supposed to buy this, but I'm getting it anyway. Well, probably not supposed to go out today. Well, but I'm doing it anyway. And so we have this continuous cycle of like guilt and fear of, I wonder if that was too much. I wonder if this one was too much. I don't know if I could afford that. Like, if you just made that spending plan, you authorize yourself up to X number of dollars and then check in on it. Okay,
Yes.
I still have some left. Great. I can still do a thing. It's almost like just if you have a container and when it's empty, then you're done, and super, super simple. So,
But you've enjoyed yourself a little bit along the way.
right.
Every human needs joy. Every human needs reward. They need to feel like they're working not just for paying the bills, but for pleasure. And so
Yeah.
when you allot money for that in the places that feel authentic and aligned for you, then you actually can enjoy the reward and not, like you said, feel the guilt over spending. Because even if you're on your debt payoff strategy and on your saving strategy, it's still okay every once in a while to treat yourself. What happens in America, though, is we want to treat ourselves Kardashian style when our budget doesn't match that. But I think as Americans, what I have found as a financial person is when they make more, they spend more. They make more and then they spend more. And what I would encourage folks to do is to really get comfortable with their life. And that's what a spending plan does. It allows you to have fun in addition to your obligations. And then when you make more, allocate that to paying off some debt, putting some additional away for saving, and then enjoying a little bit as well. You know, there's only so many things you can do with money, save it and spend it. So as long as you have a plan for where it's going to go, then you don't have that stress loop in your brain constantly wondering, what am I going to do? I should, I shouldn't.
I should. Oh, shitting on ourselves. Oh gosh. Yeah. Let's not do that.
Let's not.
It's messy.
Yeah, so messy.
So I like to do things, and I don't know if you do that this way or not, but I like to do things by percentages. So I like to have, when I have money coming in, because being an entrepreneur, sometimes you get more, sometimes you get less. It just, you have those months that are great and you have those months that are not. So some of my stuff, it's, there's some stuff that's set amounts that have to go, but other things, X% is going to go towards paying something off, or X% I'm going to go towards savings, X% is going to go towards having fun. So that way, if I make more, I automatically have more in my fun account to do things with. And I'm automatically ready to, save a little extra and so forth. It's already planned out. And that takes the emotion out of making the decision. Because it's
I love it. I love it. And what I want to also focus in on that is you already have your percentages set. So let's say your fun percentage, we're going to say is 20% of whatever. You don't have to spend it right away. I think that's another thing people get really hung up on, is it's like it burns a hole in their pocket. You can have that fun money sitting there, just sitting there until the opportunity comes up to do something that you really enjoy. And then it's guilt-free and it's ready. It's not like you have to get it and then immediately use it. Right. And I think people need to get out of that mindset of just here today, gone tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be that way. You can use that to think, or maybe you want to do something that's a little grander than usual. So it's a couple of cycles of putting the fun account money and getting it ready. It's a little bit of deferred gratification, but it sure does feel good when it happens and it's paid for, not put on credit.
You're getting something you want, because when you just buy it instantly, I've got $20, it's gone. Oh, I've got $100, it's gone. You got something, but was it really the thing that you liked? And if you've got to save, 2 or 3 cycles, like you said, to get something, Well, now you've had all this time to think about it, whether that's a few weeks or a few months, and you go, yeah, that's really what I want to spend my, $2,000 on.
Love
That's
that.
the thing, because then
Yes.
you're really into it.
Yes.
Yeah. So how do we automate some of this? Because I think that's another kind of easy way to know that it's going to happen.
I feel like, in my experience, this is the number one way that Americans grow their wealth, because we're almost energetically aligned to spend what we have access to in our checking account.
Mm-hmm.
So what I encourage people to do is to automate their savings. I'm just going to use an example. If you get paid every other Friday, then by Monday, I want you to have automatically set up money transfers to a variety of places. I'm going to pause on that for a minute and say the number one way that I think Americans should take advantage of savings is through their 401k. If you work for a company, I want you to use your 401k for a variety of reasons. The first of which is it never hits your checkbook. It is automatically deducted before your paycheck.
Can't
The
see
second
it,
thing
can't
is
screw it up.
it's in small increments over every paycheck. So it's less painful when it comes out in those ways. Also, it takes advantage of dollar cost averaging, which is just the concept of you are buying consistently over time. Sometimes the market's going to be up, sometimes the market's going to be down, but you're consistently investing so that you're not taking a huge hit one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
So I love the 401k. And finally, it's pre-tax. It saves you on your highest tax bracket that money, because that's where it comes off. In America, our tax bracket's tiered. So not all of your income is at the highest tax bracket. It goes in levels, but that reduces your very highest tax bracket income. Super great. So that's already going to come out of your paycheck. But then on Monday, we need to always talk about, people call it emergency fund. Again, I'm very into the language of money. I like to call it an opportunity fund. It's the same concept. But the point is that you have the opportunity to pay cash for something that comes up unexpectedly. And that number is got to be what is an emotional comfort to you. That number could be 3 to 6 months of your expenses. For some people, it's more. For some people, it's less. But that number is meant to be an emotional security blanket, so that when something happens, whether it's a job loss or something, that is way outside of your norm, you're not making irrational decisions based on your fear of your finances. So I want money going directly to an emergency fund. And once you're comfortable with that number, I want you to start putting money in an after-tax brokerage account. I want you to max out your 401k. So at least
and
up
all
to your
the free money they're matching. Yep.
Yeah, always up to the match. But even more importantly, I encourage people to go all the way up to the maximum, which for 49 and under is 19.5. For 50 and over is 26,000. Those are 2021 limits. Mm-hmm. Super important as the number one way to save for retirement. So now you've got some 401k going, you've got your emergency fund, then you can do an after-tax brokerage account, which is just money that you've already paid tax on, but you're still saving for your future. I would encourage folks to not invest in the stock market if it's money that you're going to need in the next 3 years, because as I like to tell people, it's not about timing the market. It is about time in the market. So when you're investing and growing your money, you need to be thinking about it on a long-term basis. So your 401k is long-term, your after-tax investment account should be long-term. And then for me as well, I love to have some savings accounts at my bank that are for a holiday fund, a vacation fund. And so also on Monday, my emergency fund's getting a little more money. My after-tax brokerage account's getting a little more money. Well, guess what? And sometimes it's $25 and $50. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying these have to be huge amounts. I think people get hung up a lot of time on the limiting belief. Well, if I don't have 1,000 to put here or 1,000 to put there,
not worth it.
Why bother?
Right.
That is absolutely not true. Start small, start somewhere. And when that starts to get comfortable and you make a little bit more, start adding more value to that. Increase those. I want it to feel a little bit like a stretch, because we have to be able to say it's worth it. And when it feels a little bit like a stretch, you're going to start to realize it becomes easier over time. You desensitize to it. And when you get desensitized to it, add some more to it so that you can feel a little uncomfortable again. Yeah. Because again, You're not going to grow your wealth by spending it all on fun. And you're not going to be happy if all you're doing is focused on saving. There's a balance.
Right. So I like this automating concept. And in fact, I've been doing it for quite some time. And I literally, pay myself at the beginning of the month, and then on the 5th, retirement goes out. I call it an immortality fund. Salt, who was on one of the early shows, taught me to call it that because it just keeps your stuff living. So you can pay cash for things that go wrong, because something will go wrong. And your car will break, your roof will leak, whatever. So money goes to that. It just automatically goes out. And then I don't have to go, I don't know if I have enough, or maybe I want to spend it on something else. Like, no, that's not happening. There's no thinking about it. There's no worrying about it. I know it's going to happen. And what it does when you do this is create the habit. And the habit, as you know, and just said, more important than the amount. Way more important than the amount is just that consistency of continuing to contribute to whatever you're contributing to. And even though you might feel like $50 is not really very much, just do it for a few years and see what happens.
Yeah, watch it grow. That 50 turns into a couple thousand. The other thing I want to acknowledge here is the idea that even if it's a small amount, even if you feel like you don't have it to save, even putting $10 or $20 away starts to allow you to recognize that you're making yourself a priority, that you're making your future a priority, regardless of the chaos and noise in your life. Just putting away that $20 every paycheck when it doesn't feel like you have it, again, it starts to accumulate over time and starts to build the habit of investing in yourself and your future.
Yeah, it so very much does. Interesting thing about starting to put away $10, $20, something like that. Like once you start to see the pile, all of a sudden your brain gets excited and you start finding ways to add to it. So you're like, oh, somebody gave me a gift card, so I'm going to use that gift card for my groceries, and then I'm going to put an extra, $20 over here, and then I'll still buy myself something nice, but I'm going to put a little bit over. Or I got a bonus at work, or whatever it is. You start getting these little things and you start getting excited about the pile that's growing. So you start wanting to put more in there. Such a crazy thing that happens, but it totally happens to everybody as they see the growth. They go, cool. And then more money appears to go in there somehow.
Yes, I love it. Agreed.
Yeah. So let's talk about a few tips for entrepreneurs, because I know, you said fund that 401k. Well, if you have your own business, you don't have a big corporate employer that's doing this for you. How can we do this for ourselves if we're business owners?
I love this question because I feel like so many of my entrepreneurs have this crazy aha moment when I explain to them that even if you don't work for a traditional corporation, you're an LLC, right? You've got your own business going. You can set up an individual 401k. And in doing so, you can have the same limits as someone working at a corporate office. And you can also pay yourself an employer match in the form of profit sharing. What? So again, 49 and under, you can put away $19,500, directly have that come against your taxable income, which is huge when you're an entrepreneur. You're always looking for ways to cut down on that tax bill. Right. And in addition to the profit sharing, for my super high income entrepreneurs, you can also set up a personal pension plan, which sounds kind of crazy and kind of old school, but we've had incredible success working with, especially, doctors and social media sort of standouts who have a lot of income generating. They can create a lot of tax savings with a personal pension plan. So there's a lot of opportunity to save on your taxes, which is important, but also on your future retirement. And I know a lot of entrepreneurs want to invest back in their business and in their personal development, and I love that. But you can start to do all three of those things once you get the ball rolling on your business.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a great point. And I love helping people set up personal pensions because we do similar but different things in our businesses. And that's one of the things that, I like to tell people too is, well, why don't you just buy your own pension? You're running your own company, buy your own pension. Let's do it.
I love it.
I think it's a fabulous way to go. And people don't even think about doing that. And I loved what you said about you can still grow your business and save for your future. Because so many times, I think, especially new business owners, in the first 3 to 5 years, are just thinking about, let me get the business going.
Mhm.
And I got to make this work. And they're not
Mm.
thinking about what is it going to look like 20 years down the road, other than maybe the possibility it's going to be amazing. I'm going to sell it for $10 million and that's what I'm going to live on. Like, okay,
Always
awesome.
the goal.
Right?
Always the goal.
This is a great thought.
Yeah.
But what if that doesn't quite work out? What if the market changes? What if you get injured? What if you get sick? What if something happens to your spouse or your family and you can't keep working the job and you got to sell it earlier than you planned? Like, life intervenes sometimes. So I think it's so important to have something set up for yourself, whatever route you're taking to do that, so that you know for sure you've got something going. And then if your business sells for $10 million 20 years down the road, fabulous.
Even better. Even better.
Even better. Yes. Yeah. Yes. So let's talk about this thing that you brought up and put on my list of things for us to chat about, which I think is so critical. The importance of giving and of gratitude.
I feel like this is often overlooked in people's wealth journey. And I mean that from the beginning even to the end. People think that when I am wealthy, when I have enough, then suddenly you're going to have this opportunity to give. And again, it goes back to thinking it has to be a certain amount in order to make a difference. And what I want to encourage people to recognize is that you have, in addition to your treasure, you have time and you have talent. So even if you aren't financially in a place to give back right now, there is something about giving back to the world that allows you to be able to receive even more. And I like to use the example that when you have your fist tightly closed, are you able to receive when your fists are wadded up like this? You are not. But when you open your fist, when you're willing to give, your hands are available to receive. So I say, if you're struggling on your wealth journey, that's fine. But start to find a place where you could give a little bit of your time, at a food pantry, at a soup kitchen. From there, perhaps you have a talent, perhaps you have a skill with your hands. For me, I have the gift of, knowing numbers. I can teach it. I've been the treasurer of everything that's in my community.
Yes.
Because I can give back in that way. I'm blessed to be able to give back in the treasure department at this point, right? I can share my wealth. And I think the fastest way to grow your wealth is to give, and then sit in the space of gratitude that you have time, that you have talent, and that you have treasure to give, and really start to change that mindset from scarcity to abundance, and recognizing that when you're doing better and the world is doing better, it's just all going to come back to you tenfold.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I love that. And I think that's a great point about not getting hung up on the amount.
Mm-hmm.
If you have $5 extra to put into somebody's coffee cup or the donation bin or whatever, then that's what you have to give. That's totally fine. It's all the mindset, not the amount, not the actual, action itself, that it's thinking of it in a different way and recognizing that there's going to be more money. You're going to be all right. You're going to make more.
Inevitably, when I start to feel a little scarce, I will start to give more. Mm-hmm. Because I find that is the quickest way for me to get in the action of receiving.
Yes.
And it always works out to where what I need is available when I'm in the mindset of giving and gratitude and getting out of the scarcity fear.
Yeah. Yeah. That gratitude mindset of just being thankful for things. I mean, when you can't really receive something and then not be thankful for it. So
absolutely,
just go ahead and be thankful on the front end. And guess what? Things show up.
Start there. Yeah. And watch the magic that happens.
Watch the magic. Exactly. Yes. Yes. I love the magic. Thank you. This has been fabulous.
Thank you. It has been lovely. We could chat for hours. I love that about you.
I feel like we could.
Yeah.
If you want to get in touch with Amy, she can be contacted by email at amy@ircwealth.com. Or you can follow her on Insta, Amy W. Getz Finance, on and friend her or connect with her on LinkedIn under Amy Getz, and that's Getz.
Perfect.
Thank you as well to all of our listeners and viewers. I'm your host, Camille Diaz. You can contact me and find out what I'm up to through my website, CamilleDiaz.com, or follow me on social media at Cam Unfiltered. Be sure to follow MoneyHeart at MoneyHeart Show and our website, MoneyHeartShow.com. Amy, you have a money mantra for us today. Would you like to tell us what it is?
I do. I use this every day. This is always my pervasive thought around money, which is that money flows easily and freely to me. I don't want to be in the mindset and the space where it's hard, where earning money is hard, where receiving money is hard. So I regularly remind myself that money flows easily and freely to me.
I think that's beautiful. Thank you.
Of course.